meeting for tonight. I see we have quite a few folks that have joined us, so welcome. And yes, welcome to our 49th Arvin and Lamont CSC meeting. Before we open it up for welcomes and introductions, we're going to take a few moments to set up interpretation, and then go through our logistics and our housekeeping slides. So to start with interpretation, I'm happy to welcome in Diana from Linguística to share some instructions. Welcome, Diana.
Thank you, Madeline. Buenas tardes a todos y bienvenidos a la Junta. El día de hoy tenemos el servicio de interpretación disponible para aquellas personas que lo requieran. Ya está activada la función de interpretación, así que en la parte de abajo del menú de Zoom van a ver un icono que parece un mundo que dice interpretación o interpretation. Pueden seleccionar ese icono y seleccionamos el idioma español y también silenciar el audio original para que no escuchen dos voces a la vez. Y si se están conectando desde una tableta o desde un dispositivo móvil, pueden tocar su pantalla y buscar la opción de los 3 puntos. Seleccionamos nuevamente interpretación de idiomas o language interpretation. Seleccionamos español, silenciar el audio original y al final le damos la opción que dice finalizado, terminado o listo. Si tienen alguna dificultad para unirse al canal de interpretación, nos hacen saber por el chat para poder ayudarles. Ahora voy a dar las mismas instrucciones, pero en inglés. Hello, everyone. Today we'll have interpretation available for those who need it. If you're joining from a computer, at the bottom of the Zoom menu, you will see a word-like icon that says interpretation. You can select that, and then you will select English. And if you're joining from a tablet or your phone, you can tap your screen, select the 3 dots, and find the option that says language interpretation. You will select English, and at the end, you will select finish or done. If you have any issues joining the interpretation channel, please let us know in the chat so we can help you. Thank you. Gracias.
Thank you, Diana. Appreciate it. This is Maddie. And we'll just take a second here to see if folks need any support transitioning into the interpretation channel. You need any help making sure you're in the correct channel, please feel free to let us know and we can ensure that you are where you need to be. Another friendly reminder regarding interpretation, we just ask folks to speak slowly and to state your name prior to speaking. The reason for this is so that folks who are in the Spanish channel can follow along with who's speaking when speakers change throughout the meeting. As your facilitators, part of our role in these meetings is to work behind the scenes to take attendance, offer technical support, and just general support to ensure everyone is able to fully engage in tonight's meeting. So if at any point you're having issues with Zoom or the interpretation or have any questions in general, please feel free to send me a message or send a message to my colleague Liz, and we'll be happy to help. Next, what you'll see here on the screen is an outline of our naming conventions. We use these conventions because they help with attendance tracking and the stipend distribution process. For CSC members, we ask that you put the letter CSC on your Zoom name. And for residents who are a part of the stipend program, we also ask that you add the letter R. If you're having any trouble changing your name, you might see us on the back end change your name at some point through the meeting. And again, it's just to help track attendance and support the distribution of the stipends. For others who are joining tonight's meeting, starting with our agency partners, we do ask that you put your agency in your Zoom name. And for members of the public who are joining tonight's meeting, we also ask that you indicate that in your Zoom name by putting the letter P, as this also helps us track who to call on during our public comment period. Before we move on to our virtual meeting etiquette slide, we did want to provide an update about the stipends from March. The stipends are being sent out this week. We apologize for the delay, and we want to make ourselves available to answer any questions that you may have. We have time allotted at the end of tonight's meeting to address any questions that might be coming up about the stipends, but please know that they are on their way. So thank you, everybody. Okay, so moving on to our meeting etiquette, we just ask for folks to stay muted unless you're speaking. And if you are calling on the phone, you can press *6 to mute and unmute. If you have a question or a comment, we ask that you raise your hand. And if you're calling on the phone, you can press *9 to raise your hand. We also have a reminder for residents in the stipend program. To qualify for the stipend, we ask that you stay on for at least 90 minutes. Next, we have our slide on productive discussion and respectful dialogue. Again, I won't go into the details of this, but this is available for your reference. And this is just something to keep in mind as we engage in tonight's meeting. And next we have the agenda. Tonight we have space for our welcomes and introductions, followed by our action item tracker. And following that, we have an update from CARB about the regulatory and enforcement updates, our standing updates, wrap up, and space for public comment. All right. So with that said, I'd like to officially welcome everybody to the 49th Arvin and Lamont CSC meeting. My name is Maddie, and I'm joined by my co-facilitator, Liz. If you're having any trouble throughout tonight's meeting, again, please feel free to reach out to us, and we're happy to jump in and help. At this time, I'd like to welcome in our co-leads, Bianca and Cesar, to share some opening remarks. Welcome, Bianca, Cesar. Whoever would like to go first, go for it.
Yeah. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining our 49th meeting. I'm always surprised at how much time we spent together trying to better the community and the air. I also want to give a special shout out to all the folks that are on their way back from Sacramento. We have a few folks like Estela and Ruben Santoyo that are coming in from Sacramento after trying to speak with legislators about how we can strengthen and protect our air. So, I just want to recognize all the community leaders that spend their time not only here, but also outside, using their personal time to make sure that we all reach the same goal, and that's bettering our air. Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much, Cesar, and thank you for recognizing all the work that the folks are doing to better the community's air quality. I'd also like to welcome in Bianca for some opening remarks.
Good afternoon, everybody. Buenas tardes. I wanted to welcome everybody. I know that we have a packed agenda. I know there's a lot of information from CARB. I'm very interested just to learn more. And I'm very happy to see that there's quite a few folks that are in the bus. I know that they're in the bus coming back home, and they left early in the morning because their community matters, and they want to voice their concerns to legislators. And I'm very proud to say that they're from the Valley, especially from the Arvin and Lamont area. And how much tremendous work they've done to improve their air quality. It's amazing, and seeing changes in their community, especially coming from CARB. I know that in the agenda we do have CARB and different departments from CARB giving updates, and it's important for community members. And I also wanted to address that we are going to have a subcommittee meeting on the green vegetative barriers, so we won't forget that. We're moving along with the Air District. I do want to applaud that to the Air District that is trying to make this happen also. So we're moving forward, not just only on this. Also, I wanted to add, I'm taking a little bit more on the space, but that the Air District is working really hard on the SERP, so we could reallocate some funding on projects that are very fruitful for the community. So community, I hear what you're saying, and when I'm bringing it back to the Air District, and they're making their works possible. So I want to applaud that to the Air District in working with the community. Thank you.
Thank you so much for sharing, Bianca. It sounds like a lot of efforts are moving, which is always great news to hear. And I'd also like to welcome in Stephanie from the Air District to share some opening remarks.
Thanks, Maddie. This is Stephanie, and for those that don't know me, I am the Director of Community Strategies and Resources here at the Valley Air District. Thanks to Bianca and Cesar for all the prep for this meeting, and just huge shout out for all the folks that went out to Sacramento today. I'm hugely thankful for the whole entire team that's here from CARB, and especially your CARB liaison, Michelle, and then also Brian for putting together some really comprehensive updates that are responding to some questions that we've gotten over the past few meetings. Regarding just kind of regulations and programs that the state is working on. I know that a lot of people were at the last meeting, but I'll just quickly just remind folks and share that if you didn't know the news, our former director, Jessica Olson, she did leave the district because she had an exciting opportunity to advance her education and move closer to family. So we'll miss her. But with that, I'll be again filling her role. And I'm really happy and excited to announce the new program manager in our department. Sarah Hassan Lane. I just want to give a minute for Sarah to introduce herself to you all, but she's probably really familiar to you all because she does join a lot of our 617 meetings from the grants background. And we are so excited to have her.
Thank you, Stephanie. Hi, everyone. My name is Sarah. As Stephanie said, I have been with the district now for 9 years, and I come from the grants department. So I was a supervisor in the grants department, and then previous to that, I was a supervisor in the permitting department. So I do have experience in a couple departments here at the district. I have been joining as grant support for the last year in these meetings. So I'm really excited to start my new position under Stephanie with the AB 617 group and get to know everyone in the Arvin Lamont community, all the CSC members, and to get to know members at CARB more. And I'm just really excited to get to know you all and work with you all more. So thank you.
Yes, thank you both. And congrats again, Stephanie, and welcome, Sarah. It's great to have you here as well. Well, with that said, I'm happy to move us along to the next agenda item, which is the action item review. So as we've shared in the past, we have this item to help facilitate transparency and accountability, and to make sure that things are continuously and systematically being updated to ensure that your requests are documented and that you stay informed on the progress towards implementing your suggestions. As Nancy provides updates, please feel free to ask for clarification, and anything that can't be answered will be noted and brought back at a future meeting. So that said, I'm happy to pass it over to you, Nancy.
Thank you, Maddie. This is Nancy. And then Bianca, did you have a question?
No, I just wanted to give a comment about Sarah and Stephanie. Welcome to the team. I met Sarah in the lawnmower exchange program, and I wanted to address it to the CSC that she's been an amazing help. And you could tell right away from the heart that she's willing to work with the community, especially all the staff from the Air District. But I wanted just to share that little piece that we met her in person, and she was in the grants department for the lawnmower exchange program, and I think a few of us saw her there. So if you were there, you got to meet her, and welcome. And also Stephanie, I seen you in the role with in Shafter, and now here it's a pleasure to have somebody that's willing to work with the community. So I wanted to just thank you both.
This is Nancy. That was beautiful. Love it. And yeah, we are so excited to have Steph step into this role and Sarah here just to support us as well. Super exciting. Well, with that being said, I will go ahead and drop the action items just in case anybody wants to follow along. You can find the link in the chat. And then I will go ahead and share my screen. Perfect. And can everybody see that? Great. Thank you. All right. And then so these are the action items. This is just a routine check-in from the previous meeting. And so we shall get into it now. So if you all remember from the last meeting, we did talk about vegetative barriers. So we provided a lot of updates, and yes, Bianca, we have not forgotten about that, and we are planning a subcommittee in the future once HIPE is ready, and that is also one of our action items. So we have two action items from the previous meeting, and they are both in the in progress section. So one of them is regarding an agenda topic. It is about the specifically about ag burning and outreach education opportunities. And so this is still a topic of interest, and we plan to include this at an upcoming CSC meeting. And of course, we also do have our agenda setting meeting coming up on May 1st, I believe. It's on a Friday. I mean, Thursday, sorry. And then so we can talk more about this if you are all interested in this topic still, or if you want to include something else. And then so the next item is regarding a vegetative barrier subcommittee meeting. And so we are keeping in contact with the with HIPE just to ensure that, all the comments and feedback, questions are going to be addressed. So during the last meeting, as I stated, we did a vegetative barriers measure update, and that included review of vegetative barriers proposal, and you all provided a lot of great feedback for HIFI. And then Mario, I do see that your hand is raised. Did you have a question?
Yeah, on the barriers of burning, does it include big farmers that are burning out there in the fields? We've been having a lot of burning lately. This past week, we had a couple more burnings right there next to the fields, and I'm just wondering if the CC members are noticing these fires, or they don't got any information about these fires. Because I've been noticing that a lot of these fires, they don't have permission on them. And I just want to know if this is a be on the serve right there.
This is Stephanie, Mario. Thank you for bringing that up. I know we talk about it a lot, and if you didn't already, I hope that you are aware of the process that we have to file a complaint. I'm not sure if you submitted one or not, but that's the best way for us to follow up on things that are happening in the community like this. Because if it's the case that you all are seeing something in the community, our inspectors can go out as soon as possible to investigate whether or not they do have a permit. And if they don't have a permit, then they would receive a violation.
Well, I've been checking out a couple of these fires, and I noticed the air districts are there. But I noticed too that they don't really get close to the fire. They don't really speak with the people who are doing this fire. I've been seeing them just out in the streets, but not really speaking with these people who the fires, what's going on. That's what I noticed. And I just want to know if they are getting all the information, what's going on with these fires. Because it's very important for good safety for the community with what's going on, because we don't know what they're burning out there. What I noticed, they're so-called a brush fire, but a brush fire is totally different. It's a light smoke. It's not dark like if they burning plastics or something else. And most of the excuses what it is are tires. Why are the farmers are burning tires for? There's no reason for it. They got permission to burn, brush or whatever, not tires. And not only that, the areas where they're burning, I don't see no cleanup. I mean, I got tons and tons of pictures where I go and take pictures. I don't see them cleaning up the area.
This is Stephanie. I hear you, Mario. I fully agree with you that there are, at this point, ag burning has been phased out, but there are some exceptions to some things that can't safely be burned, or sorry, can't safely be like chipped or incorporated in other ways, that there might be some very small exceptions. But again, tires, though, as you mentioned, they definitely should, that's not something that should be burned. That is trash and all of that, should be, it is illegal to burn. And so
Yeah, but
again, I just want to make sure that if you are taking pictures of them, that we're making sure to get that to the right agency. For air quality complaints, you definitely know that you can reach out to us. And I know that I think last month, I know that there were some advocates in the community that held a meeting to kind of talk about other environmental reporting complaints as well. So if you're not sure where to submit any complaints to, Mario, you let
well,
let us
the
know.
only
I know CSR also has been a good resource as well.
well, the only problem is that, I don't want to do no more complaint because, and then I'm gonna have problems. And I'm been noticing that I've been having problems about it because, I'm the only one speaking out on these type of burns, and I don't see no other members really jumping on it. And the problem is that this is a very health issue
Mhm.
what's going on, and I'm doing this for my community. And I want to make sure my community, you know, we are doing the proper job to make sure they're getting the health issue fixed. And not only that, I don't see really that uh improvement
Mhm.
on what's going on, with the burning. And yes, I don't want to see our community burning papers and stuff like that. But most of the stuff that I'm seeing people burning is in the fields. In the fields. And I mean, we already had one, last week? I mean, a couple of days ago, a big fire next to the refinery. And this thing was black.
Yeah, thank you so much, Mario, for elevating what you're seeing. It sounds like definitely a need to follow up on some things and see that change actually happen. I see Cesar also you have your hand raised, so just wanted to see if you had more to share regarding Mario's question.
Yeah, I know, it's important to keep an eye out for a lot of these fires, and there are many community members that do recognize that some of the like attrition and the fires for the approved burns are linked to like some white smoke. But whenever we do see any dark black smoke or smell, maybe like plastic burning or something of that sort, it's important to make the report because the fire that Mario was mentioning that happened in front of the refinery in the field there was unfortunately a homeless encampment that started a fire, and it caused, I think, some tires to burn as well. But I think we're also worried about some also like irrigation lines that are burning, plastics that are burned, and maybe even some, plastics that have been used for pesticide applications that are burning as well. So it's definitely understood that, the district can be everywhere at once. So I just also want to echo Stephanie's point that whenever we do see a smoke or, dust or anything that worries us, even if, we don't know if it might be what we think it is, it's important to make that report to get inspectors out there and get an eye on it, just so we can make sure, if there is any illegal burning that's happening, or something that shouldn't be burning that's causing some darker smoke, we can get it addressed. I know some folks from Arvin saw that, I think, last month and made a report. And it did ended up being that there was, a farmer, I think near Comanche, that was burning some plastics, and they were actually given notice of violation from the district as well. So, I want to thank the district for being able to do what they can and give notices of violations whenever things that aren't supposed to be burned are being burned. And I, ask everyone to keep an eye out for anything that they might think is suspicious or out of place or out of order, so we can get an inspector out there with the air district.
Yes, thank you so much, Cesar. So definitely hearing if folks are seeing something, it's important to report it. And Mario, I saw your signal, take pictures when you can. So just appreciate both of you advocating for communities, looking out for each other. So thank you both. Nancy, I'm happy to pass it back to you.
Thank you, Maddie. This is Nancy again. So yeah, that was just the two action items that came out of the last meeting. If the conversation doesn't have to stop here, if you ever want to reach us, you can call us, email us, and happy to set a meeting with you or just talk with you on the phone about any other questions that you may have. And so I will go ahead and stop sharing and see if there's any other additional questions. If not, happy to pass it back to you, Maddie.
Yes, thank you so much, Nancy. Just pausing here for a moment to see if folks have other questions or anything that they'd like clarification on. Okay, not seeing any hands raised, and I'm not seeing anything come through the chat. So I think we're all set. Thank you all so much for walking through the action item review. Thank you, Nancy, for sharing that with us. And with this, I'm happy to transition us to the next agenda item, which is the CARB regulatory and enforcement updates, and welcome in my colleague, Liz.
Thank you, Maddie. This is Liz. Happy to transition us to our main agenda item for tonight. As you know, this update is from CARB. And just as a reminder, this is in response to quite a few recent action items and questions that CSC members have had in previous months. And so we have not just Brian here from CARB, but a whole team. Brian will be providing some leadership and representation tonight, helping us walk through the 4 separate updates that CARB has prepared. We will go through these updates one by one, and we do just want to give you all that heads up that there will be those distinct topics. First, CARB will present on some enforcement in the community. Then we'll hear about some statewide regulatory progress in Arvin, Lamont. Then we'll hear about greenhouse gas emissions from oil wells and the status of the methane regulation update. And the last update they have is on local oil and gas with toxic air contaminants as part of the Senate Bill 1137 that has come up in this group before. And so again, just wanted to ask the CARB folks tonight, just as your facilitators, that we want to do our best to support CSC engagement. And so again, we ask that you pause between those updates just so we can take any clarifying questions from the CSC before we move on to the next topic. And just noting that because we have a very engaged group here tonight who are very ready to dig into these topics. And a lot of these folks have a lot of experience and definitely varies across the group, but they definitely have a general understanding of what you all from CARB will cover, but really want to encourage you still to add additional context as needed. So again, we know there are a lot of different updates that you're going to get tonight. We really do want to have plenty of time for questions and discussion. And with that, we are really excited to welcome you, Brian, and welcome your team. So I will pass it to you to get started.
Oh, thanks, Liz. And yeah, I really want to just thank the CSC for inviting us. We're all excited to be here tonight, and hopefully we can have a great discussion because I know your time is so valuable, and it's a big chunk of one of your meetings. And just to introduce to myself to some of you who may not know me, I am Brian, and I work with Michelle, who is your main community contact at CARB, but she's fighting off a pretty bad case of pneumonia, but she's doing better. So rest assured, she is recovering. I do want to thank her very much for organizing all this. Stephanie mentioned that I helped out. I did not help out much. Michelle did the heavy lifting and brought all the staff together for this. So again, I want to thank Michelle, and I will do my best to honor all her work in this presentation. Real quick, I'll try to share my screen. And yes, please feel free to stop us in between presentations or even during a presentation with questions. And we also will keep an eye on the chat as well if you have any questions you'd like to put in. Cool. And so actually, Liz did a great job of outlining our overview. So we'll start off with Eric will help us out to go over some CARB enforcement activities that have been happening in the Arvin Lamont area. And then Jeremy will go over some CARB regulations that are having impacts on emissions within Arvin Lamont. And then we kind of have those two oil and gas regulations we know you all are interested in. The first one, which is more focused on like climate change and greenhouse gas emissions, and the second, which is looking more at those local air pollutants that can impact health. And finally, we added this one on last minute. It's kind of happened while Michelle was out. We know that many of you had questions about California's e-bike incentive project. So that's kind of an add-on at the end. And we have Sean here that can take any questions about that program as well. And so with that, I will turn it over to Eric.
Hello, everyone. My name is Jared, and I'm with the Community Outreach and Enforcement section at CARB. I'm really happy to be here with you all, and I'm going to discuss, the CARB enforcement activities in the Arvin and Lamont community. Next slide. So, when the Arvin Lamont SERP was approved in October of 2022, it included Measure E, which requires CARB enforcement to do anti-idling surveillance at least once per quarter for 5 years. So the goal of Measure E was to limit potential the potential
Eric?
for localized. I'm sorry.
This is Liz.
Can you
I'm
not hear me?
sorry. I think so. It looks like the interpretation is not working properly.
Okay.
Did I turn it on now? Is it working now?
So are you, Eric, in the English channel?
Yeah, I switched it over to Spanish just now.
Try going back to English.
Is it in the? Am I good
Do
now?
you see? Let's see. Tanya or Diana, our interpreters, give me a thumbs up if it
Can
is
you hear me?
working.
I can hear you.
I can hear you in the English channel.
Yeah, I'm getting the same thing. I thought I was leaving the wrong one. I think I'm in English. I'm also hearing both the interpreter and Eric.
Okay. So thank you everyone for your patience. I'm going to stop the interpretation for a moment so that we can set it up again. Oh, Tanya. Oh, you think it's good? Okay. How is this? Can you hear me? Okay. And Eric, how about you continue on for a moment? And it looks like it's working, but I'll pause you if we have to troubleshoot.
I apologize for that. If I was the one to push the wrong button. But anyways, yeah, I'm Eric Bissinger, and I'm with the enforcement division. And I'll be going over the enforcement activities in the market. Okay. Okay, so when the SERP was approved in October of 2022, it included Measure E, which requires CARB to do anti-idling surveillance at least once per quarter for 5 years. And the goal of Measure E was to limit the potential for localized emissions from heavy-duty diesel vehicles that do not comply with CARB regulations. So this presentation will go over that heavy-duty diesel idling enforcement that CARB has done and discuss other enforcement activities we accomplished with truck registration holds and oil and gas inspections. And I'm gonna turn my camera off so I don't waste so much bandwidth. And next slide. Okay, CARB has primary authority over emissions from mobile sources, including heavy-duty diesel idling inspections. CARB has done idling inspections on a quarterly basis for the past 2 years in the Arvin Lamont community. We also do a lot of enforcement in the region and track the inspections in our Enforcement Data Visualization System, or EDVS. As you can see from this EDVS image, our heavy-duty diesel inspections have taken place in the region, but most of the reported inspections are outside of the 617 boundary. This is because major truck routes are nearby, but not within the community boundaries. So please keep in mind that if our inspectors do not find any parked trucks in the area, then the idling inspection does not get submitted into EDDS. So if we did not see any trucks that would be subject to the idling regulation, it did not get reported. A moving truck generally will not end up counted as an inspection. For an idling inspection to occur, it must be parked or a stopped truck.
Eric,
Yeah.
I'm so sorry. This is Liz. I'm sorry to interrupt again. It sounds like your mic is a little fuzzy, and our interpreters are having a little bit of trouble fully understanding you. Are you possibly able to switch your microphone?
I was hoping turning off the video would help that. Maybe should I speak louder?
I think that does help.
Okay.
And it is doable for now, but we'll let you know if we have to pause again. Thank you, everyone, for your patience. Thank you, Eric.
Okay. So just please keep in mind, okay, where was I? A moving truck generally will not be counted as an inspection because for an idling inspection to occur, it must be parked or stopped. It must be a parked or stopped truck. So when our investigators visited Arvin and Lamont community, there was little observable truck activity, and what was there did not alert us to any compliance issues. Since both trucks and their emissions move around the region, carbon enforcement inspections in the surrounding region can also help improve conditions within the Arvin Lamont community. Next slide. Can you hear me?
Yes, thank you, Eric. And it looks like we already have one question from Mario. Go ahead.
Yeah, what I want to know is we still having a higher volume of gases coming out or on the diesel trucks and cars uh, or I'm trying to understand what you're trying to say.
As far as diesel idling, this is
What I'm trying to say is it sounds like you're saying that you're still having a situation that the carbon of the VOCs are coming out from Lamont and Arvin is still high. And I'm just wondering because how you was talking about the vehicles, the heavy duty vehicles, the diesel trucks and all that. Because we already did everything what we can for, the smog type deal and all that. And if it's still high, then where is all these gases coming from?
Yeah, that sounds like maybe a monitoring question. These are I'm more talking about truck like traffic and locations of where I could find these trucks. And so like what you're looking at on this slide are heavy duty truck inspections, like where we were able to find trucks and inspect them, and if they were in violation, we would write a citation.
But my understanding, what you're trying to say, that you're still with the high level of, pollutants in the air on these type of diesel trucks. That's I'm trying to understand what you're trying to say.
Eric, can I jump? Can I help out on this a little bit?
That'd be great.
Hi, I'm Erin Shields, also with the Air Resources Board. I'm in the diesel enforcement, the diesel program enforcement branch. So my team is involved with doing some of these inspections. A lot of the modern diesel trucks are very clean these days, but there are still a few of the older trucks that are very high emitting, or sometimes if something is broken or defective or removed in the emission controls, it can also be high emitting. But the majority of trucks nowadays, the newer trucks are very clean emitting. So I hear what you're saying. It sounds like you're talking about the old days when the pollution from the trucks was much, much worse, and that's very true.
But I'm talking about the liquid what they're using on these trucks, because the liquid what you guys using on these trucks for the smog create a certain gas out, you know, it cleans up the diesel, but it throws a different gas. I just was wondering if that's the type of gas you guys were talking about.
No, I know what you're saying. So the diesel exhaust fluid that's used on these trucks and these newer trucks, that is intended to reduce the oxides of nitrogen, which is a major pollutant and can contribute to smog. It is possible that using diesel exhaust fluid or DEF can sometimes lead to ammonia emissions.
Thank you. That's what I wanted to hear.
That's what you're talking about, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So there's small amounts of ammonia that can be released, especially in the earlier version. Like the first trucks that came out that used DEF, especially, were not as good as how much DEF to use. The DEF dosing was not as precise. So sometimes they could release a little bit more ammonia. Sometimes you can smell it behind some of these trucks.
Yeah, but that's deadly toxins, right?
Ammonia reacts very, very quickly. It destroys very quickly in the atmosphere, but it can definitely be a local issue. Yeah.
Yeah, especially when you park right there next to saying inspection, it creates more pollutants right there when you check them out.
Yeah, well, so for our enforcement inspections, what we can do is we can see if there's any repair issues with the truck. So if something is not working properly, it should illuminate a light on their dash or something like that, or we can identify if something is disconnected or broken. Those are the kind of things that we can identify during these inspections and require them to repair.
Yeah, because there's a lot of tricks of the trade on this line of what they do. And I was studying, you know, a lot of how this thing works and this DEF and how people get away with it and all this good stuff. Uh, I met this good mechanic, and he taught me very interesting things, and that's why I'm asking these questions.
Yeah, I completely understand. And we do have a complaints line as well, where we have, if people would like to report non-compliant trucks or shops that modify things that they shouldn't be modifying, we would be very interested in hearing any referrals you'd like to send our way, and we can post our complaints page here.
I would
But yeah,
love
thank you
to.
for the
I would.
question.
I would love to help you out, but first, I'm still studying. I'm still learning. Maybe
Got it.
pretty
Thank you.
soon. Thank you.
Seems like you're learning a lot. That's a good question, Mario. I hope that clears it up. So this slide, if you can go to the next slide, please. And where I'm talking about measures for point E, the heavy duty idling enforcement. So in past CSC meetings in 2021 and 2022, we were given locations where the community was concerned about heavy duty diesel idling and traffic. In 2022 and 2023 and 2024, while we did our quarterly visits at these locations and surrounding areas, we often found that there were little to no traffic in the area. Inspections at locations like Campus Road at Arvin High School in Arvin, and Mountain View Road at South Fairfax Road, and Panama Highway at Main Street in Lamont resulted in no reportable inspections, and trucks were either not present or they were moving in traffic. So the table on this slide shows in 2023, we did 37 idling inspections in the Arvin Lamont area. And in 2024, we did 62. These inspections were off California 99 and Interstate 5. All these inspections were 100% compliant with HDD, or the heavy duty diesel idling regulation. This is in addition to our quarterly roaming inspections within the boundary that I just discussed. So the last CSC meeting in 2024 was in person, and Carb Enforcement was able to attend, and in communicating with everyone, we received some additional locations were requested to do more surveillance in the area regarding truck traffic. So in March 2025, we responded to the request and thoroughly inspected the area within the Arvin-Lamont boundary with a 5-day inspection event targeting heavy-duty diesel idling. In that time period, we did 168 heavy-duty idling inspections, which resulted in 3 citations. 2 were in Lamont and 1 was in Arvin. Of the 168 idling inspections, 98% of them were compliant and drivers were following the regulation. We also returned in April and had similar results. During these intensive inspection sweeps in March and April, a handful of additional compliance issues were identified and cited. These include a failed smoke test, repair issues, and a non-compliant transport refrigeration unit. I also wanted to mention that since 2020, we have only received 1 idling complaint for a heavy-duty truck that was within the boundary. So CARB will continue to inspect inside the Arvin-Lamont boundary on a quarterly basis, including any areas of concern identified by the CSC. The inspections in the surrounding region will also continue, which in high traffic areas can include roadside inspections with the California Highway Patrol. And these roadside inspections can identify additional emission issues, including the need to repair something related to the emissions or non-compliance with modern emission standards. This can help reduce the number of high polluters operating. Next slide. Another tool we use to force compliance with CARB regulations is to place registration holds at DMV on light and heavy duty diesel trucks that do not meet CARB's emission regulations. This is generally because the trucks is older or is equipped with a 2010 or older engine and are not equipped with modern emission controls. So this slide summarizes the registration holds placed on trucks registered in the Arvin-Lamont zip codes, but it's important to note that these standards apply to all trucks passing through and registration holds occur statewide. That said, in 2023, we placed registration holds on 61 non-compliant heavy-duty diesel trucks, 36 non-compliant light-duty diesel trucks, and in 2024, we placed registration holds on 39 heavy-duty trucks and 10 light-duty trucks from the zip codes of the region. So heavy-duty trucks are the big rigs that you see carrying large trailers and moving down the highways, and light-duty trucks are used mostly for local delivery and are smaller in size, such as box trucks and tow trucks. Questions? Okay, next slide. And after the CERC was approved in October 2022, the CSC voiced concerns about abandoned oil and gas wells in the community, which shifted CARB's enforcement focus to well inspections. In May of 2023, the Methane Task Force, which consisted of CARB, CalGen, and the Valley Air District. And we inspected 67 wells from 6 operators and found 27 of them were leaking. These leaks were promptly repaired and brought into compliance. Each agency issued a notice of violation based on its regulatory authority, and all identified issues were resolved. Valley District and CARB enforced these regulations through a memorandum of agreement, and the Air District issued the NOVs on behalf of CARB. All 27 leaking wells identified during the inspections were repaired following the enforcement actions and were verified through follow-up inspections and documentation. By July 2023, all identified issues have been resolved, bringing the wells into full compliance. Next slide. So another improvement last year is that we updated EDVS with our inspections on a quarterly basis so the community members could see the inspections and the results quicker. CARB continues to request the community involvement in enforcement efforts and encourage you residents to file complaints in the community. Stephanie had said. So, and I have my colleagues Aaron and Gabriel Pacheco here, and we are able to answer any other question. And the names on this slide, Warren is my supervisor, and the community outreach enforcement is the section we are in.
Any questions for Eric on how CARB enforces heavy-duty trucks? Aaron, Eric, or Gabriel? And you can always email us too with any questions you think of after this meeting. Yeah, please do. Well, if everyone is ready, we can move on to the next subject. I don't want to rush anybody, but okay, cool. We can always come back at the end as well.
Oh, thank you, everybody.
So the next topic we have, we're gonna have Jeremy take us through this. We're gonna go over some of the regulations that CARB are working on or that are already in effect that help reduce emissions in the Arvin Lamont area. And so Jeremy, go ahead, take over and just let me know when you'd like me to advance.
Yep, go ahead, next slide. Thank you everyone for letting me come today and present some information to you. I'm going to keep it kind of short, but again, if you have any questions, just feel free to ask at any time. And so this table right here is a list of the CARB regulations that were cited within the Arvin Lamont SERP. And so within these regulations, there's the advanced clean cars, advanced clean fleets, cargo handling equipment, and chrome plating control measures. So of those, two have already been adopted. That's both advanced clean cars and the advanced clean fleets, as well as in the cargo handling equipment regulation is currently in the development phase, as well as the chrome plate. The cargo handling is being developed, and the chrome plating actually was adopted just recently. As you can see, we do have some emission reductions that we can share that's specific to your community with the advanced clean cars. In the advanced clean fleets, you'll see some asterisks, and I will get to that in a later slide. Next slide. Mario, you had a question, sorry, before we advance.
Yeah, I got a good question. How these rules and regulations apply to the older cars, saying the hot rods, street rods, and all the cars that they race out there, and the tractors they pull dirt and all these sports that they have out there.
So the advanced clean cars regulation is primarily focused on the sale of new vehicles, making sure that the new vehicles that are being sold are either electrified or have significantly lower emissions. And so there are other regulations that actually apply to some of the older vehicles. There's some regulations for
2010 maybe, but
right.
I'm talking about older cars. I'm talking about the sports of car show and saying hot rods they race and stuff like that here in Kern County. I mean, we got the Speedway and all these other agencies that have clubs of old cars.
And so like what occurs on speed races isn't on the public streets. So that's outside of kind of the advanced clean cars purview, but there are regulations for that would be more considered an off-road or a recreational vehicle, more or less. And there are several regulations. And what I can do is I can ask some staff here at CARB on some of the regulations that would apply to some of the hot rods and some of the car shows. And then I can reach back out to you with some of those regulations and how they're applied if you're interested.
Yeah, because I am interested because I'm into old cars and I need to know it myself.
Yeah.
I build them, and
Cool.
I wanted just to know where I'm standing.
Mhm. Yeah,
Okay.
I'll take note of that, and I'll find out that information for you, and I'll probably work with Michelle to reach out to the Air District and or you.
All right. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Okay. If there's no other questions, we can move on to the next slide. And some of the other uh, strategies that were included within the SERP as well was heavy duty inspection and maintenance, the in-use locomotive, the small off-road engines, as well as the transportation refrigeration unit regulations. And so again, we have some quantified benefits for heavy duty I&M as well as the small off-road engines. Next slide. So if you had noticed that there were asterisks, several of the regulations after we adopted them within the state, one final step, a lot of those is requiring a US EPA waiver and authorization. Early this year, several of the regulations, especially the ones with the asterisks, and I have a table in the next couple of slides, but when that authorization was withdrawn, we're having to recalculate some of those emission benefits. They have been adopted by the state, so all of the portions of the regulations that do not need the U.S. authorization, we are enforcing those, and we are seeing emission reductions for those. Next slide.
Oh, real quick, Jeremy, can I add one
Yep.
thing onto that? And
Yep.
this is just in general, so I hope I don't not describe it correctly. But when Jeremy mentions these waivers, is the federal government, so like the US EPA, sets air quality standards that all the states have to meet. And what happened decades ago was that California was like, hey, our air quality is so bad that we need to have stronger rules than what the federal government rules are to meet these requirements you say we have to meet. And so that's what kind of this waiver thing is that California makes a stronger rule, like for emissions on cars or trucks, than the federal government. And the federal government says it's okay for California to make a stronger rule, And so when we make a stronger rule, CARB, we have to go to the US EPA at the federal level and have them say it's okay for us to make a stronger rule. And so that's what Jeremy's saying. Some of these are in that process, and we haven't gotten the ability to have that stronger rule yet. So we're waiting for that. And I know if anybody on CARB, if I mischaracterize that, please. Sometimes I simplify things too much, so I can understand them. So if I was wrong with anything with that, please, anybody, feel free to correct me.
Yes, Mario.
Yeah. Okay. Now we're talking about waiving certain gases. Well, we are just talking about cars, trucks, diesels, and stuff like that, but we don't need to talk about the other type of gases are coming out of our landfills and stuff like that, like saying our sewer plant too, they got opening for, I mean, miles and miles that gases come out of these locations. Too, not only that, we got LA bringing their stuff over here and gases are coming out at the landfills and stuff like that. But we don't ever talk about that. Maybe that's the reason why we got more gases here in California and Kern County that we don't need to look upon. Do you understand where we're at? I know certain agencies don't talk about it because they don't deal with it, but I'm talking about it because if they're waiving these emissions, and then it could be part of something that we don't know about. And I would love to learn something about what they're waiving about.
Okay, well, one thing is when we're talking about the waiving is that we're only talking with respect to what was included within your community emission reductions program,
Yes,
is we're only talking about really just 3 regulations, and that's the advanced clean fleets, the in-use locomotive, and the transport refrigeration unit, ATCM. So those are the ones where, while there are portions that the state is enforcing, we can't enforce the ones that require authorization. But when it comes to like landfills, there is a regulation that was adopted a while ago, the short-lived climate pollutant plan. And within that, there is strong landfill regulations within that as well. And so if you're interested in, kind of what are the regulations around landfills, I can kind of add that to my list to reach out to you, as well as kind of like the hot rods and the recreational vehicles
I
as
would,
well.
I would love that because, I feel that we have to really understand what's really going on these landfills. And not only that, it's a good education for everybody to learn because if there's a high level of gases and stuff like that, we have to figure out where is it starting, where it's at, and not only that, uh, this is a big safety issue for our community, and that's the reason why I speak out on this program for the safety of the community. And I just want to learn more. The more I learn, more better for me.
Mhm.
And if you could get that paperwork for me, beautiful. I would love to understand more about the regulation of the landfills. And not only that, hopefully the members too will love to get something like that, that they could get a better understanding. Because I
Yep.
know I do want to learn.
And one other thing is, I was just looking, and within your Appendix C of your SERP, there actually is some inventory information related to landfills as well. So there is a little bit of information is there, but like I said, I will go and track down what regulations at least CARB is responsible for when it comes to landfills, and I'll get that information to you.
All right.
Or Michelle will. Someone from CARB will get that information to you.
I appreciate it, and thank you very much. I just was wondering if they just was talking about the gases regarding with all type of gases. That's why I spoke out.
Yep.
If I'm wrong, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to. All right. All right. Thank you.
You're very welcome. And I
Thank
believe
you.
that was the last slide of my presentations. Was there any other questions related to any of the CARB strategies?
This is Liz.
Yes.
It looks like there was one question in the chat from Cesar that got a response from Brian, but just want to read it out loud for the whole group. So the current federal government is not protecting community or air quality. Would these waivers be at risk to be removed? And Brian shared everything is fluid right now. I don't know if Brian or anyone on the CARB team would like to share anything more, or if anyone else has any follow-up questions on that.
So from what's currently adopted, we're not in fear of losing any other authorizations, right? Early in January, we withdrew several authorizations, so we're not seeking any additionals, but so we're not really going to lose out on any further authorizations. But like I said, I believe we have some other CARB staff on call if they'd be able to answer kind of that to a better degree than I can. I'm in OCAP, so I'm not a part of the regulatory teams responsible for these, as well as, kind of the internal discussions they've been having this year.
Certainly I can help with that, Jeremy. I am actually in the CARB legal office, and my program is small off-road engines. So I am very aware of what's going on with our waivers and authorizations. There is a lot of pushback from the federal government. What I can say is that currently our SOAR regulation did receive its authorization in January, as did Omnibus, and some other programs received partial authorization. Yes, thank you, Brian. SOAR's small off-road engines. And these regulations all have guidance on our website as to how we're implementing them. As they were saying earlier, these parts of the regulation, even if they didn't receive an EPA authorization, if they don't pertain to emission standards, we can still enforce. So, as of right now, that is what's going on. CARB is proceeding, with the implementation of its adopted programs as much as it can. And any changes to that implementation will be posted to our website. So I hope that helps answer the questions. Also, these waivers, it has to do with a rule in the Clean Air Act that says states are not allowed to set emission standards for engines or vehicles. And there's, certain requirements, certain size. As they were explaining earlier, California has a carve out because we have special problems in the state. There's one regulatory pathway for us to set standards for engines in moving vehicles, and another for the off-road engines. And what EPA does is they review those emissions standards that we've set, and they make sure that we've done the remaining checks that EPA wants to see before they can authorize it. And then once they authorize it, CARB is able to fully enforce the regulation. However, like I said, before authorization, we can't. And it's because it is this very specific carve out saying, all right, California, if you meet our requirements, we can let you set your own standards for these.
So in terms of answering the question of what your community can do to kind of help us, like I said, we're kind of in the early stages of kind of looking at what we're doing. Both us and the Air District are fully committed to reducing emissions in your community. And so we're looking at any means necessary that we can to do that. And so if we are coming across the issues where we could use public comment or support from your community, like with legislation or anything else, we'd be more than happy to reach out to you for that. Because we could definitely use your help sometimes. Yes.
Like I always said, help me like that could help you.
Yes. Thank you all for having me on.
Well, thanks, Jeremy. And yeah, if anyone has any, go ahead. Did I cut you off, Jeremy?
I'm sorry?
Oh, I thought I cut you off.
No.
Oh, so I just want to say thanks, Jeremy. And yeah, we can give, if we want shorter updates on how the statewide strategies are going, like maybe, a quick update, 5 minutes at the end of your meetings, we can work with Michelle to do that as well. So yeah, we'll make sure that you don't have to search our websites. We'll, if things change with any of these regulations, we'll make sure to let you all know. Cool. And so, yeah, I guess we're moving on to the next CARB item. And so this is about the oil and gas methane regulation update. And so this really has to do with the more greenhouse gas side of things and also the local impacts of methane with oil and gas. So yeah, I will go ahead and turn this over. I think Carolyn is with us.
Right. Thank you so much, Brian. Appreciate that. And good evening to everyone. My name is Carolyn Lozo, and I'm hoping I can answer any questions that you have tonight on what CARB is working on recently related to our oil and gas methane regulation. because we've been working very hard to strengthen it recently. So just as a reminder, or if you aren't aware, in 2018, we started implementing this regulation, and it is specifically for oil and gas sources from production, processing, storage, and also some natural gas compressor stations. So this regulation works very much hand in hand with what the local air districts are doing throughout the state and what they've been doing for many, many years. And we work in cooperation with them to make sure that these sources are keeping their leaks down and they're being regulated appropriately. So some of the things that are included in CARB's regulation are leak detection and repair, which means that these operators have to go out on a routine basis, look for leaks within their facilities, find the leaks, mitigate the leaks, fix them within a certain time period. So that's a very important part of the regulation. In addition to that, they also have to keep an inventory of the components that they have at their facilities. So we need to have a really good idea of what these, what equipment they have and what the potential is for leaks within the equipment. One of the really interesting and I think powerful things that we've in the past, I believe it's been almost 2 years now, added as a provision to this regulation is a satellite provision. And that means that very soon, probably within a month or so, CARB is going to be receiving data coming from satellites that go over California and look for methane leaks. Some from oil and gas, potentially, some from landfills, potentially, but those that are found, love that. Those that are found within oil and gas facilities, they're now required to find those leaks, again, find them, fix them within a certain amount of time, and report all of that information to us. Now, these are going to be the larger leaks because we're basically looking at them from a satellite, but that's okay. We want to find those big leaks and we want to get them fixed as fast as possible. So that was sort of the last round of strengthening the regulation. What we've been working on most recently is something that was required or is required at this moment by the US EPA, and it's what we're referring to as emissions guidelines. And they're very specific provisions that EPA is saying, states, you need to put these into your regulations, into a plan, so that we have even stronger methane regulations. And then you need to provide those plans to us, to the US EPA. So we've been working on that and talking to air districts about how to best put those provisions into our regulation. And they're supposed to be, as of today, they're supposed to be turned into US EPA next March in 2026. Some of the things that EPA is asking states to include are that leak detection and repair that I just described, adding that, expanding that to heavy oil sources, which are now exempt from our regulation, but they want us to take that exemption out. They want us to take our leak threshold and reduce it so that now even smaller leaks have to be found and fixed. And then they also want additional inspections at natural gas processing plants, even more often. So all of those things they're asking us to put in to the regulation, that's all, we're working on all of that. But just to complete that, that discussion, I think we're all a little bit aware that things at EPA are uncertain. They're currently reconsidering these emission guidelines. We haven't gotten certainty on what they're going to be doing, if they're going to be taking those requirements away, continue to ask states to do this work. We're not sure yet, but no matter what happens, CARB is looking at options to potentially move forward with at least some of these changes, whether US EPA asks for them or not, because we know we need to strengthen the regulation any way that we can and get further methane reductions. Mario, do you have a question?
Yeah, I got a question. Is this the methane that they put under the ground? I got a a little bit knowledge of that, not that much. I'm just trying to get an idea. Is this the one you put in the ground and, a couple, what, 300, 400, 500 feet down?
So this is methane that is coming from the oil and gas that they're pulling out of the ground, and some of it leaks. Some of that
Yeah, yeah.
methane leaks. So that's what we're trying to reduce.
Yeah, because I talked to a couple of guys that was doing a reading right here in Lamont, right here next to the refinery. They was trying to find out how much that methane was coming out from this refinery. And I was just wondering if that's the one they use to, put in the ground the gas that they, they put in the ground, or is the one they just clean up, put it in the machine to clean up and whatever escapes, that's what they were looking for.
Yeah.
I
So
don't get,
this.
I don't get that much knowledge about this.
No, it's okay. It's a good question. So CARB has other regulations that apply to refineries specifically. So this one's more the oil wells that are pulling the oil from production, the very beginning, as they're pulling it out of the ground. That's what we're trying to reduce, leaks from any operations like that and related operations.
Yeah, because the guys who was testing out the air right here in Lamont, they're from another different company. It's not the air district. It's from a different company that was investigating all this gas what you're talking about. And I was speaking with them, and there was there they said a couple of amazing words. I learned something off of them. But yeah, we got a problem with that right there.
Methane is a very strong greenhouse gas, and we need to reduce it everywhere we possibly can. So CARB is definitely interested in strengthening a regulation where we need to, whether it is for EPA's request or just because we need to strengthen the regulation and we have opportunities to reduce those emissions.
I got a question, one question. Let's see if, I don't know. I've been noticing that our trees are drying up. Some parts of the trees are drying up. I mean, they got water, but a certain branches, they dry up. And it's not broken or cracked or anything. But I noticed in trees in Lamont and Arvin that certain trees are drying up on certain part of the tree. And mostly it's in the top.
It's interesting. I don't know what that would be caused for specifically. Maybe others have ideas, but yeah, I'm not sure about the trees.
Yeah, because that maybe that's the reason why, maybe from that type of gas or something, but that's what I started noticing on the trees.
Interesting.
Yeah,
Interesting.
because I got 59 years living here. It's been
freeze for you all as well? Didn't Mario?
Yes.
It does, yeah. Mario, it looks like you froze. I'm not sure if you can
Changing.
hear us. Oh. Maybe we can.
Yeah, I could hear you.
Oh. Are you there? We'll follow up with you. It sounds like we're kind of back. Sounds like your question, we don't quite have folks here who can answer that, but maybe we can have this as an item for some follow-up, get some experts on it.
Well, it'd be nice. It would be nice to find out why is the reason why our trees are drying up. They got water.
Yeah.
I'll tell you that they got water. Just certain spots of the trees are drying up. I don't know if it's for gas or we'll find out later, I guess.
Yeah, it's a great question.
Thank you very much. I learned something. Thank you.
Thank you, Mario.
Thanks, Carolyn. Are there any? Oh, good. We good. Cesar, go ahead.
Yeah, I apologize if I cut out. I'm in the middle of nowhere right now, driving back home. Thank you for giving us updates on the methane rule. I really appreciate that y'all are, willing to stand with public health and community priorities to make sure some of the rules are strengthened. I remember, I think back in August, I'm not sure when it was, but it was during one of the methane task force meetings. CARB gave a presentation during the methane task force meetings where they were giving some of their priorities and some of the things that they were looking to update during the or for the methane rule, sorry. One of them was like venting at the wellhead. Some of them were venting at the tanks. There was also, I believe, a study that was going to be done into the heavy oil exemption. If I understand correctly, I think like 80% of the oil that's produced in California counts as heavy oil, and because it is heavy, it does a lot of the regulations don't apply to the extraction and processing of the oil. But I think now that we have a little bit more understanding of the fact that there is some emissions coming off of the production of heavy oil, that we were looking to do away with either completely or some parts of the heavy oil exemption as well. And so I'm just very curious as to know what parts of the methane, the California oil and gas rule, y'all were looking to continue to strengthen and update, and if you're still hoping to stop some of the exemptions, like the ones in section 95669 and 95668, which pertain to the venting at the wellhead and also venting at tanks, and allowing for that exemption to happen under self-testing.
Thanks for that question, Cesar. And I mean, you're right on. So I'll speak to a couple of those things. Heavy oil obviously has been exempted from LDAR under CARB's methane regulation. That is one of the things that the US EPA is saying that we need to get rid of. And but whether they go through with that requirement or not, that's definitely something that we're considering. We're considering making changes and strengthening this regulation. So yes, heavy oil is one of the things we're looking at. And yes, we are collecting information now to get a better handle on what the emissions are from heavy oil. So yes, you're correct on both of those. And then also reducing the leak threshold to 500 ppm. I believe it's at 1,000 ppm now. So finding those smaller leaks and requiring all facilities to fix those smaller leaks, that's also a potential amendment to the regulation. And then more inspection or more leak detection and repair more often at gas processing plants. That's another one that is being considered as a potential amendment. You also asked about venting. Yes, that is also something that's being considered, partially because EPA would like us to do it, but even if EPA doesn't require us to do it, we're also looking at banning venting, some venting, as a potential amendment to the regulation. So yes, a lot of the things that you're mentioning, those are all things that are being considered and discussed at this point, moving forward. We're tracking very carefully what's happening at US EPA, or watching to see if they make an official announcement on what they're going to be doing for these emissions guidelines. So there's a lot of uncertainty, but some of the things that you're mentioning are absolutely under discussion right now.
Thank you so much. And I think there is just a general mistrust that certain rules and protections are actually going to be meaningful. So the fact that y'all are moving forward with these, despite any changes that may happen at the EPA at a much higher up level, I think is very reassuring to me, and hopefully to community members. My heart really does go out to the well-intentioned, well-meaning folks that make up the US EPA and that really want to better protections, but that can no longer do that under the new leadership. So the same thing goes out for the same offer goes out to this as does the waivers. If sharing any community stories or data or information that can help y'all justify the need to make these changes, we would love to make that connection, because I think lowering the threshold from 1,000 to 500 was something that I believe our air district did that went into effect last July. And I think the science speaks for itself, and politics should not be part of the calculation when we look into the science of protecting community emissions or community from emissions. I mean, so I really would like to thank and commend you and everyone that's working on this to make sure that the methane rule is more protective and has less loopholes and exemptions that allow for leaks that that are seemingly legal and lead to no enforcement action whenever they are affecting community members. So it's very relieving to hear that y'all are still considering making some of these changes to better community protection. So thank you.
Thank you, Cesar.
So I don't see any other questions. If there aren't, we can move on to the second part of a different oil and gas reg that's in the works right now.
Thank you, everyone.
Cool. Awesome. Cool. I'll share my screen again here, and everyone can see that. So next we have Donnie is going to present on Senate Bill 1137, and this has to do with those health protection zones around oil and gas production.
Next slide, please. So thank you, Brian, and good evening, everyone. My name is Donnie Jackson, and I'm pleased to be here on behalf of the SB 1137 implementation team. And this presentation is the development of our performance standards for the emission detection systems. And tonight I'm here just to present some basic information to solicit input and feedback on what our team is working on, and that if you've got questions at any time, please interrupt me or hold them to the end. I'm open either way. Next slide, please. Okay, so I'd like to start with a few slides on history and context of Senate Bill SB 1137 before we get into CARB's responsibilities. SB 1137 was signed into law in 2022. And then in early 2023, there was an industry-led referendum that delayed its implementation until June of 2024, when it went into effect immediately. Next slide, please. So to provide a little bit of background information, SB 1137 establishes health protective zones around sensitive receptors that are located within 3,200 feet of oil and gas production wells and production facilities. Examples of sensitive receptors include residences, schools, hospitals, clinics, and any businesses that are open to the public. SB 1137 prohibits drilling of new oil and gas wells in the health protective zone, and operators of existing facilities within the health protective zones must submit leak detection and response plans for all facilities that fall within that zone. Next slide, please. Thank you. Other requirements of SB 1137 for operators include providing sensitive receptor inventories and maps of proposed operations to the California Geologic Energy Management Division, also known as CalGEM, controls for light, sound, dust, which are enforced by CalGEM, the offer of water sampling and testing under certain circumstances as overseen by the State Water Board, and then lastly, the development and implementation of leak detection and response plans, which is the focus of the rest of my presentation. Next slide, please. So SB 1137 requires leak detection and response plans to include 4 key components. First, an emission detection system that identifies target chemicals for detection, an alarm system that alerts the operator when leaks occur, a response protocol for identification and remediation of leaks, and notification to the community when a leak persists and cannot be fixed within 48 hours. Next slide, please. So for existing oil and gas leak detection requirements, to provide just a little bit more context, it's important to note that oil and gas production facilities operating in California are currently subject to leak detection and repair requirements, as we heard earlier. Depicted in this graphic, you see that there are air pollution control district rules that seek to minimize VOC and toxic air contaminants. There are CARB greenhouse gas emission standards for crude oil and natural gas facilities that seek to reduce methane emissions. And then the US EPA has recently amended their new source performance standards and added emission guidelines for existing sources to set increasingly stringent leak detection thresholds and limit other emission sources that were previously exempt. Generally, these all include periodic inspections using handheld instruments and are typically conducted on a quarterly basis. Next slide, please. So CARB will be developing performance standards for continuous emission detection systems under SB 1137. Now, a performance standard
Johnny?
yes. Oh, I'm sorry.
This is Liz. Could you slow down a little bit when you're
Yes, okay.
talking?
Sorry.
Thank you so much. And it looks like we have a question actually from Cesar.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you so much for all the information you've given so far. As far as community notifications go, is there a threshold at which the notifications become immediate? Or is the 2-day allowance for repairs available under any like circumstance and for any leak amount?
The 48 hours is set by statute. So that was the decision of the legislature, and we're kind of held to that. So we are still working on our performance standards and setting thresholds and detection limits. So whatever those are that set that off, those alarms off, it would be if they are not repaired within the 48 hours.
Okay. Wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you. Mario?
Yeah, and I was to ask, how would the community know about those 48 hours if they announce it? Where do they find out? Are they gonna be on the phones? Because most of them don't apply with with wherever they apply to get all the information. Where do they get the information from? For the community to know about this problem.
And so for the notification, that will come through CalGEM, and they have that as part of, I believe, their requirements for the leak detection and response plans. And I believe that they're creating like list of sensitive receptors around these sites, and those are the ones that get notified. And then we will also be working with CalGEM in the future to make sure that the data from these emission detection systems is available somewhere. We're still working on that as well. And so it would be available for the public that way as well.
Yeah, but is this gonna be soon or maybe a couple years later? Yeah, try.
It'll be I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Sorry. It'll be part of the leak detection response plan. So as soon as those are implemented, then the notifications are required. And then just however we coordinate with CalGEM for releasing the emission data later,
Okay,
we'll just follow.
There've been leaks before, and but I heard that a lot of community members didn't know what was going on when chaos started hitting. That's why I was asking.
Yeah. No, and I totally understand, and that we're hoping to, like I said, I'm not sure exactly what CalGEM's response or their actions will be for the 48-hour community response. So I'm not sure if they've created email lists, if they've got some sort of notices that go on the website. For the emissions, the data from the emissions detection systems, that will happen after July of 2023, or I'm sorry, 2030.
Okay, thank
That's
you.
the implementation date. Yeah, you're welcome.
This
Okay.
is Liz again. Sorry, Johnny. I'm just looking at the time, and I just want to make a suggestion just so that we can get through the whole presentation. So if folks have any other questions, I think we'll ask that you hold those until just the end of the presentation so that we can get all this information out to you and then save some time for questions still. But let me know if there's a clarifying question do feel free to pause us along the way.
Okay.
Thank you.
No problem. Thank you. So just returning to this, our performance standards are, they refer to a set of defined criteria that specify the expected level of accuracy, precision, and other relevant parameters that allow these emission detection systems to consistently meet operation, so allowing for reliable data collection and decision making. It's essentially a benchmark that shows how well a system should perform under these specific conditions. And examples include accuracy, precision, operating range, probability of detection, and time to detection. Next slide, please. So as I've stated before, under SB 1137, CARB's responsibilities will include the development of regulations that set these performance standards for the emission detection systems required by SB 1137. And then in consultation with the air districts, we'll identify the pollutants of concern by region as there's a variation in emission composition throughout the state. Next slide, please. So CARB, in consultation with CalGEM, will also review and approve or deny the leak detection and response plans. Oh, can you go back one? Sorry. They look the same. We just split up CARB responsibilities in CalGEM and then with CalGEM. So then additionally, CARB will collaborate with CalGEM to develop a method for providing public access to the data that is generated by our emissions detection systems. Next slide. So for leak detection response plan implementation deadlines for oil and gas operators, they're established by law and they're provided in this table here. July 1st, 2028 is the deadline for operators to submit their plans. Next, July 1st, 2029, that's the deadline for CalGEM with concurrence of CARB to approve or deny the plan and provide notices of deficiencies. Then lastly, July 1st, 2030 is the deadline for operators to fully implement the plan, meaning that the emission detection system must be up and running. Next slide, please. So here we see our proposed rulemaking timeline. And our rulemakings are how we establish our performance standards and set regulations. So as of today, we are in the preliminary stages of this rulemaking process. We had an introductory public workshop in March. Next, we will have a second public workshop in late 2025. And at this workshop, we will present our draft regulatory text, draft supporting documents used to inform our rulemaking, as well as our draft alternatives analysis. Following that, in spring of 2026, we submit our alternatives, our alternative analysis to the Department of Finance. And then next slide for the Spanish. I couldn't fit it all on. Sorry. Thank you. So by late 2026, we will begin our 45-day public review and comment period. The full staff report with appendices will be available along with the full draft of regulatory text for public comment, and this is all available on our website, will be available on our website. The CARB board hearing will take place in late 2026, where the public is again invited to attend and provide comment. Then by summer of 2027, we plan to release our final rulemaking package to the Office of Administrative Law for their approval, with our target effective date for this regulation being January 1st, 2028, which is then followed by the July 1st, 2028 submission deadline for operators' leak detection and response plans. Next slide, please. Okay, so next steps. Currently, our team is evaluating and preparing reports for commercially available emissions monitoring technologies, alarm thresholds, pollutants of concern, and our alternatives analysis. As stated earlier, we plan to have 2 more workshops, one in late 2025 to solicit feedback to improve our draft proposed regulation before we finalize our analysis. And then we plan to conduct our third workshop in late 2026, where CARB staff will answer questions on the technical support documents as well as the rulemaking documents. Next slide, please. So thank you very much, everybody. Appreciate the opportunity. We're looking forward to working with you on this very important and impactful regulation. More information, you can visit the website that we have on the screen. I'll drop it in the chat in a minute. And then you can reach us via email for any questions, comments, suggestions for options, information about any topic that I've discussed. And then we are also always available for one-on-one meetings, either in person or remote. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks, Donnie.
Thank you.
I don't know, Liz, we have one more speaker that will kind of add on about the e-bike incentive project. I don't know if anyone has any questions right now on 1137. Oh, that's Cesar.
Yeah, thank you so much for all that super awesome information. I'm really eager for this to be implemented. My next question is pertaining to water, and I know we're in an air quality at CSC, but there's also some provisions about water quality testing around SB 1137. And I'm wondering if maybe you could just give us a few details around that and give us just a quick update.
Unfortunately, I don't actually have any information on the water sampling. That is all through the Water Board in conjunction with CalGEM. I can always reach out and get you guys in connection again and get some more information from the Water Board. Either get it back to this group here, or if you want to email through our website, we have an email. If you want to email us there, we can work through it that way.
Cesar, you may know, I don't know if you know Jennifer McGovern, but she used to work at the water boards and on the Environmental Justice Task Force, which is like water, air, soil, all that. And she works with us in OCAP now. So she can also probably connect us with the right people at the water boards as well. So I'll talk to Jennifer tomorrow too.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. I just wanted to make sure that all the residents here knew that that was, an option for them and something that they can take advantage of. Thank you so much. Yeah, appreciate that.
It does look like we have a hand up from Elvia. Do you have a question? Elvia, Juliet, Sabrina.
Sí,
Yes.
les iba a hacer la pregunta de los carros. Es que yo agarré el que es con batería y gas y le dije como a 4 personas y ya les dieron la aprobación, pero dicen que ya no, que esos ya no los están dando.
This is Stephanie from the Air District. I just wanted to check. It sounded like you had a question about our district's the vehicle replacement program, about switching out like an older 2006 and older vehicle for a new or used plug-in hybrid or electric vehicle. Is that what your question's about?
Sí, el híbrido, ajá, porque yo lo agarré, pero me dicen los que yo les dije que ya no los están dando los híbridos que tienen también baterías, pila o batería. Que ya nomás están dando de pura pila, que ya de gas ya no, gas, pues el híbrido que es de gas y batería, ¿verdad? Que esos ya no calificaron, que desde octubre.
This is Stephanie. Thank you for clarifying that. The two options that we have available through the vehicle replacement program are the plug-in hybrid and a battery electric vehicle. Those are the options that folks can go through. And for our vehicle replacement program, we do still have funding available, but it is again for those two options of the plug-in hybrid and the battery electric.
Ok, porque aquí en Beckerfield creo que no se los quisieron dar. Tienen que ir, yo creo, a otro lado entonces. Ok, gracias. Yo les digo entonces a ellos que todavía hay para esos carros.
Thank you. It looks like we can continue with our last update.
Awesome. Yeah. So last but not least, we have Sean here that works with our e-bike incentive project. And I know there's some questions about that. So I'll put the links to the project description here in the chat, and I'll turn it over to Sean.
Yeah, thanks, Brian. And I'm happy to be here and joining you guys tonight. My name is Sean Ransom, and I lead the California E-Bike Incentive Project. And I'm just going to give a brief overview and drop a couple links and let you know about some upcoming funding opportunities happening next week, actually. So this is perfect timing, really. So the California E-Bike Incentive Project aims to provide e-bike incentives to low-income California residents who are 18 or older. And when we say low income, we mean a household income at or below 300% of the poverty level. So, for example, a household of one would need to make under $45,000 to be eligible for this program. A household of four would need to make under $93,000 to be eligible for this program. And we have all of this information on our website, which I will also drop in a little bit here. The e-bike incentive is up to $2,000 and covers the purchase of the e-bike and accessories. So accessories such as helmets, locks, lights, baskets, fenders, really everything you would need to make an e-bike a car replacement, which is really the goal of the program, is to reduce our greenhouse gas emissions and vehicle miles traveled. So we're trying to put these e-bikes in the hands of folks that really need transportation the most and extending their transportation options. For e-bikes, we allow class 1, 2, and 3 e-bikes, so really covering all of the classifications as listed in the California Vehicle Code under e-bike definitions. So those are e-bikes that can go up to 28 miles an hour. We have over 400 approved retailers across the state. I was just looking on the map and I saw there was 4 retailers in the Bakersfield area that you could redeem your voucher at. We also allow online retailers, so there's that option too. If you're too far away from a retailer, you can simply have an e-bike delivered to your front doorstep. And we also allow for those fees to be used by the incentive as well. Let's see what else here. The big news is we are launching next Tuesday, April 29th at 5 p.m. And one of the things that we've done for this round is we've made it extremely easy to apply. I'm going to drop the press release for everyone here. Next Tuesday, as long as you're income eligible and a California resident 18 years and older, all you would need to do is come to our website at 5 p.m. And at 6 p.m., we will have a random drawing for 1,000 e-bike vouchers. We do expect a large demand, probably over 100,000 people judging from our first window, but there's still a chance. And it would encourage everyone to join us for the launch and see if they're able to get a voucher. All the details can be found in the press release I've dropped in the chat, along with our ebikeincentive.org website, which has all the information on eligibility, e-bike types, retailers, and the information you would need to apply. But prior to applying, just coming to the launch, you don't need to submit any information. It's just in the application process. With that, I will pause and see if there's any questions. I see a hand up.
Thank you, Sean. This is Liz. Elvia, I see your hand is still up. Did you have another question?
Oh, nada más, porque oí también de los árboles que se estaban secando, creo que dijo Mario, no sé quién, y yo pienso que, pues a mí se me secaron mis árboles por el petróleo, porque ya ve que hubo un escape aquí en la calle de nosotros, y yo tenía un árbol de este lado de mi casa, y habían 3 en la calle, y se secaron por el petróleo. que se rompieron las pipas. Nada más, eso es lo que iba a decir porque oí algo de los árboles que estaban secando.
Thank you, Elvia. This is Liz. And so definitely hearing interest in getting follow-up on that question that Mario brought up earlier. Thank you for sharing that. Are there any other questions that folks have either about the e-bikes or anything else that the CARB team has presented tonight? Yeah, go ahead, Bianca.
Hi, I just have a quick question about like the e-bikes. Is there gonna be any staff on hand? I know it's after hours, and we do have a large community base that would like to participate, but would want to see if there's any staff that are gonna be ready to answer any questions or any concerns if maybe the application doesn't go through, or any concerns or any questions that could uplift in that moment. I know that it's a very short time window frame, and we want to make sure that whoever is applying uses it as needed.
Mhm. Yes, we do have a case management team that will be um, manning the phones, answering emails as quickly as they can. In our window that we launched in December, we had, I think, over 5,000 inquiries within that application timeframe. So there may not be an immediate answer, but we would definitely get back to everyone within 48 hours. If folks have made it into the application process, then their spot is secure. So just want to make that clear. There would be no rush whatsoever if you make it into the application process. You would be essentially, your spot would be secure. But for those other questions, yeah, there might be a surge in the demand there, so it might take some time. But we'll do our best to answer those questions as quickly as we can.
Thank you, Sean. Looks like we have one question from Cesar, and then we'll get to the next one in the chat. Go ahead, Cesar.
Yeah, thank you. Again, I'm breaking up, so sorry if I missed this. Is there going to be any prioritization of folks within 617 boundaries, or are they?
We do have, we have another tier of applicant we call the priority applicant. So those are applicants who have a lower income than 300% of federal poverty level. That they can have an income at or below 225% of the federal poverty level, or they can live in a disadvantaged community, per Senate Bill 535, or a low income community, AB 1550, and they actually get an additional $250.
Thank you.
And I think that does cover, I mean, that's by census tract, those designations, but I think with the two bills, the disadvantaged communities and SB 535, I think it covers all of Arvin and Lamont, but we can confirm, but I think it does.
Thank you. This is Liz. Just a couple more questions. There's one in the chat. Is it one bike per household?
Per person.
Okay, one bike per person. Thank you. And then we can go to Bianca next.
Just a question. I know that you were mentioning that because of the high quality, the amount of folks applying for the e-bike, it would have to go through like a raffle system. Would it be right away, or would it take a couple days? So at least some folks that may have some questions, or if their application was submitted, to confirm that it's been submitted. Would it take some time so they could at least have the opportunity to submit their application?
The process is pretty much instantaneous. So not long after 6 o'clock next Tuesday, I mean, probably 6:02, maybe 2 minutes at the max. Everyone who's in that waiting room will see on their screen where they are in the line. So they'll know immediately. And then the way it works, this is a little more detailed than probably everyone needs to know, but folks, the first 1,000 folks are the folks who get randomized to the top. They will immediately be redirected to our application portal where they can fill out their applications. So other people can stay on in case someone drops off for some reason, or they don't finish their application for some reason. But we'll leave the window open a little bit longer in the event that happens. We want to make sure all those spots are filled. But for example, if someone sees their spot 80,000, at that point, it wouldn't make sense for them to stay on. But someone who say spot 1,001, 1,005 or something, it would make sense for them to stay on.
This is Stephanie. If I could really quickly maybe summarize and re-emphasize all that Sean is saying, in that this e-bike program is going to be very, very popular and expect it to be gone very, very quickly. So if you all are interested in the program, there's a waiting room that starts at 5 that they encourage you to join early. And they're expecting, folks to know really soon after 6. So if you're interested, don't check on like April 30th or something. Be there ready on April 29th when the window opens, because they're expecting that all the funding will go or be allocated to someone in that time frame.
This is Liz. Thank you so much. I see, yes, just one hand up again from Bianca. Go ahead.
Sorry, just a quick follow-up. I'm looking at the application. Is there any information that needs to be submitted for the application? I just want to make sure that if anything needs to be submitted, that community members have things on hand for the application.
Yes, really two major components there: a current California ID, and then the income verification documents, which can vary. But what we really are looking for is the W-2. But there is a list on the website of income verification documents that can kind of substitute that if needed. And I'm happy to send you a list too. And that's, of course, it's on our website too.
So Sean, just to clarify now, I'm kind of interested. So to get in the raffle, do I need those documents, or the initial raffle, do I just need like my name and my email? And then if I do get accepted for the application, then I have time to submit those documents? Or is it all to be submitted at the beginning?
Yeah, no. Well, okay. To get in the waiting room, you don't need anything. We're going to use the IP address from your computer that you're using. And we're going to use that for the randomization process. So at that point in time, when you're randomized, you don't need anything. If you get a spot 1 through 1,000 and you get redirected to the application portal, at that point, that's when you would need your current California ID and your income verification documents. Yeah.
This is Liz again. These are all really great questions. I don't want to cut them short at all. I am looking at the time and I see that we just have a few minutes left of our meeting tonight. And so I think if I'm still not seeing any hands up and no more questions in the chat, that we can officially close out CARB's presentation. And just want to thank your whole team again for coming tonight and giving all of this really crucial information to the group. I think we will send our action items and the standing updates via email, just in the interest of time. But we do have, of course, several action items with some follow-up that we heard tonight. And so I will just continue to close out the meeting and just want to thank everyone again, all of the agency partners, and of course, the residents who have showed up tonight to continue this very difficult but rewarding work. At this time, I am very happy to welcome our two co-leads to share any closing remarks before we say goodnight. So Bianca, would you like to go first?
Yes, it was a very informational meeting. I did appreciate the effort that CAR put out to bring all this information for the community, especially for communities answering questions. So I do appreciate that. And moving forward, I do expect some meetings, follow-up meetings. So I'm excited to see any changes that are happening in our AB 617, Arvin and Lamont.
Yeah, big thank you for me, and happy to hear that CARB is doing something to help fight all of the uncertainty that's coming from the federal government to make sure Californians, especially folks in the CSC, feel safe and secure breathing the air in our neighborhoods. So just big shout out, thank you. And also, I'm impressed that we got through so much. It was a jam-packed agenda and we got through it just in time. So thank you to everyone that helped and asked questions.
Thank you. This is Liz again, and want to echo what Bianca and Cesar just shared. And lastly, I'm happy to invite Stephanie to share your closing remarks as well.
Thanks, Liz. This is Stephanie. And again, just echoing Cesar and Bianca's thanks to CARB. It is a huge lift. I think you all saw there's so many people from CARB. They all work on different teams, and it's a huge lift, I think, to coordinate and just bring all these updates. So appreciate really everyone that contributed. And again, huge thanks to Michelle, who couldn't be here tonight, and Brian for helping coordinate. And especially huge thanks to all of you for your great questions and just being here to listen and being open to learning all of this information. Safe travels to everyone who's coming back from Sacramento, and hope to see you all at the agenda setting next week.
Yes, thank you, everyone. And we do hope to see you at next week's agenda setting at the usual time on Thursday at 4 p.m. Have a good night and safe travels to those who are on the bus. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you, everyone. Good
Buenas
night.
noches.
Gracias.
Buenas noches.
Buenas noches.
Buenas noches.
Buenas noches.
Noches.
Good night.
Thank you.
Okay.
We're just staying on in case anyone has questions about stipends. Okay. We'll go ahead and end the meeting. Thank you, everyone. Good night.